It's a place where people walk around.
Do you think you're preaching to the choir?
No, because these people ignore the Holocaust. They don't.
How do you know that?
Because I don't see massive protests going on in Cumming, Georgia.
The absence of protest means that they don't care about your message.
Yes,
Okay,
to some extent. They might care a little bit, but not to the extent that they should care about it.
Okay, that's illogical.
So why is it illogical to think that the adequate amount of care that you should have towards mass murder is the type of care that produces massive protests in the streets? I think that makes perfect sense.
Let me give you a statistic. How many people do you think die every year in cars, every year in the United States? How many people do you think die every year in the United States, every single year? Since stats were collected in the 1950s. A number, any number.
100,000?
No, it's not that bad.
Okay.
Minimum 30,000 a year.
Okay.
30,000 people a year. Now, it may not seem like that much, right? In a country of 300 plus million, right? It's 30,000. How many people died in Vietnam?
I don't know.
I think it was, I think 67,000.
So what is the point you're trying to make?
What I'm trying to make is, why are not people more, if I'm going to use your logic, okay, that because you don't see the level of outrage that needs to be there for you, and that means that they're apathetic, they don't care about anything or anyone, and they need to be more concerned about issues like this, right?
Sure. I'm not saying they don't care at all, but they don't care enough to take the adequate action.
Right, but the problem with today's society is no matter where you look, no matter what you turn on, whatever device you're listening to, watching, passively or actively, people see tragedy. It's like 9/11. How old were you when 9/11 was?
I was around 9 years old, maybe.
You remember that time?
Yes.
How was that? How did you feel during that time? On that when you saw the towers going to buildings.
I probably felt scared. I was concerned.
Yeah, and that was mirrored by millions of people all across the world, especially Americans, because it hit home, literally. My point is, nowadays, people see 9/11 every single day on the news, somewhere in the world, whether it's Ukraine or whether it's one of the many countries in Africa or undergoing mass murder, genocide, civil war, just civil unrest, whether it's biological warfare or even maybe include COVID with all that stuff. There's a tragedy. There's basically a 9/11 level event happening everywhere around the world.
And it's happening here, and we need to fight it.
People have become numb to it. So
they should not become numb to it.
Okay, you're not understanding human nature. If every day you hit yourself on the head with a rock, the first few times it hurt, wouldn't it? Okay, but over time, even your body would respond to that stimulus, if you will, by developing a callus, as long as you didn't hit yourself too hard, right?
Sure.
So over time, you become almost numb. It's not even a thing anymore. You become used to that level of whatever it is, whether it's pain, whether it's a tragedy like this.
Right, and we need to act despite how we feel, despite the numbness. We still need to act, and we need to recognize that there's a double standard going on. If born children, 5-year-olds, were being taken into killing facilities in Atlanta and mass murdered by their parents, people would be outraged, correct? Sure. But they don't have the same level of outrage when the children are younger and in the womb. Therefore, there's bigotry going on. There's discrimination that can be easily seen in how people would act if it was born people compared to how they act now for preborn people. Sure. And so that's what I'm calling people to do, is to get out of that bigotry and to not be numb and to fight it. Because if we continue to be numb...
Rocio's Cantina, is that open?
They're open, they're not fully staffed yet, but I think they're open today. I think they're closed. But they are...
And one for Rock and Soccer?
I don't know about that. I'm not sure if they're open.
And the analogy with, or what you were saying about the car deaths, the accidents, a lot of that is just human error with or people not intentionally doing something wrong.
That's one interpretation.
Sure, and there are people who are doing something wrong at the time when it does happen, and then there's also just human error is a thing in reality. But this abortion is always intentional. What I'm trying to address here is not accidents, right? This is always intentional. So there is a difference in car accident deaths and abortion. And abortion is much. It kills way more people. There's over 1 million kids killed in America every year through abortion.
I'm not trying to equate the two. I'm just trying to use it as a reference that there's so much tragedy in this world, and it's now crashes hit more home towards me to me because I've seen a lot more than most people in their lifetime, more than most people ever see in their lifetime. So
Sure.
To me, that's a much more personal thing because I've actually been to people's houses, notified their family at 2 o'clock in the morning that their son, daughter, whoever, their loved one is not going to come home that night, and it's actually probably worse than the actual collision itself. When you see that kind of devastation, emotional and just overall devastation. So I'm not trying to equate one tragedy over another. Obviously, this is a tragedy. Obviously, this does not need to happen.
It's not even a tragedy. It's a great evil. It's a purposeful act of evil carried out on millions of different people, and how we address it really comes down to our religion. So how you think about this will be dictated by your religion. So what is your religion?
Well, I didn't come here to argue about religion.
Okay, well that's
or my personal beliefs.
Well, then this conversation won't ever make much sense, because if we're not getting down to the fundamental beliefs behind what we think, then it's just kind of your opinions are coming out, my opinions are coming out, and there's no way to really measure what's true or what's not true.
But is that the purpose of you coming here? Because you cannot really measure that the way, in the platform that you're, in the way that, the manner in which you're doing this, how can you really measure your impact?
I have to I don't know what my impact is going to be. I have to trust the power of the Holy Spirit. So I trust.
This is an unusual way, and this is me personally saying this. It's an unusual way to do that. I know back in the day they used to do this. This used to be the thing. You literally get on your stool.
Yeah.
Or
I'm a street preacher.
Right, and you would your stack of books, whatever it was, to put you a little bit above the walk in public, and you would try to get people's attention, and that was the thing. Nowadays it's more electronic. Nowadays people.
Well.
The message I think, and this is just my personal opinion, I think can get to more people through different means. Now I'm not saying that's the only means. Obviously, this is a method.
Right, and I'm also filming right now.
Okay.
And I have a YouTube channel.
Sure.
And I reach people electronically. So what I do on the street that only reaches maybe a few people can then reach hundreds of people.
Okay.
And
that's good.
And I want to make this more normal. I want more people to be doing this. So I need to do it myself to be an example to people. I think if there were Christians everywhere all the time showing people how brutal it is, proclaiming the truth in the streets, people will be like, whoa, Christians are really making a big deal about this. Maybe there's actually something to what they're saying. Maybe it's actually murder because they're acting like it's murder. Because in our society, it is normal when people are really outraged about something, they go to the streets, they get on the megaphones, they march through the streets. With Martin Luther King Jr., we have Black Lives Matter, we have women who are against Trump, we have all these people who go to the streets. That's our cultural norm for protest and changing culture, is to go out and make a big, loud noise in the street. And then the news shows up and they broadcast it. So what I'm doing isn't that unusual. It's just unusual that I'm doing it by myself when this type of activity is normally done in large groups. And it's unfortunate that I have to be by myself, but there's just very few people who are willing to do this type of work, because it does take some level of courage.
No, it absolutely does. I mean, even if this was not your topic, this was not your stance, being out in public and speaking out in public is a very difficult thing for most people. That's not a natural thing, unless it just happens to be some part of your personality.
Well, I think I've been changed by the Holy Spirit, and that's part of my testimony. Is I think God gave me the ability to do this when I'm actually naturally a very quiet person.
Yeah.
So, and I encourage you to follow Jesus Christ if you don't. That's my job, is to tell you how to be reconciled to God through Jesus Christ, the only mediator between God and man.
Well, I appreciate your message, sir. And you don't mind me asking, how long will you be here?
I might be here for another 20 minutes.
Okay. I won't disturb you. I just have some questions because this doesn't happen every day.
Okay.
Okay. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks.
Have a good day, sir.